Hello, Scott, Lucy. Lovely to have you on the show this afternoon. Welcome to Perfect Health with Elaine Godley.
Thank you, Elaine. It's a great pleasure to be with you. Thank you for inviting me.
You're most welcome, and it's especially nice for me because I very rarely get to interview men who are interested in health and well-being. So give yourself a pat on the back.
Okay, well, good to know. I mean, my interest in health and nutrition really began, I think I can go back to the sort of mid-80s, and I started to become aware of it then, particularly when my first daughter was born, which was 1988. I really wanted to make sure that as a family, we were making sensible choices about our food and about nutrition. And it was early days then in the UK, because there really wasn't a great deal of information around, particularly regarding supplementation, which I discovered later on, a few years later, in fact, was really essential. So that's when it all started, and I've been really sort of over 30 years. I've been interested in nutritional supplementation since then. Yeah.
Wonderful. So share with us, Scott, some of the interesting supplements that you've come across. I know you've had quite a wide and varied career in the wellness industry as well as TV.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think it really started to sort of take legs, as I would say, back in the mid-90s, when I was fortunate enough to spend some time in San Diego, California. I met up with a guy called Dr. Stephen Whiting, who is the head of the Institute of Nutritional Science in San Diego. And listening to some of his lectures, I mean, he's online, you can find him, he's still out there. He really gave me an education about the fact that the soils have been depleted in mass farming since pretty much the Second World War. He told me that there were a lot of nitrates left over from making explosive weapons during the Second World War, and the manufacturers of these nitrates were quite keen to get rid of them and find another use for them, and they ended up in farms, in soil, and our soil quality changed, and therefore the way our food was grown changed. And that seemed to come across to Europe as well. And so as we're left with the legacy of depleted soils, depleted nutrition in our food. And the result of that, I think, is quite clear, that we have mass epidemics of degenerative disease, which is being looked after by big pharma, which we're not all great fans of, I know. So what could we do about that, knowing that the fruit and vegetables that are in our supermarkets have probably not got the nutrition in them that we hope they would have. And so that's when I started to learning more about supplementation. And I found various different products on the market, both here and in the United States and other parts of Europe. Some are good, some are bad, some are indifferent. And the challenge is, Elaine, I think, that there really isn't any sort of standard. There's no sort of anybody policing this industry. So there's lots of different products that are coming out there, and you just read about them and hopefully they do what they say they do. Well, I'm not satisfied with that, because I wanted to understand more about evidence behind them. So I've always looked for products that have got some kind of scientific background. And clearly we don't have time to go into many of them today, but I'd like to highlight a couple that have got research, and therefore you can read about. And one of them is a product that I buy online. Actually, it's quite easy to get in the UK. It's a blue-green algae from Calma Lake in Oregon, in America, and it's an algae that grows specifically at very high altitude on very pure, clean waters. Its technical name is a Phanizanimon flossagra, which is a bit of a mouthful. So we call it blue-green algae, and again, you can find it online. It's about 15, 20 quid maximum you should be able to get it for. And the reason it's interesting is because it was actually discovered by a guy called Christian Drapeau. Now, he is known as the scientist who really proved the fact there is a link between stem cell regeneration and this nutritional supplement. He came out with a book called Cracking the Stem Cell Code back in 2013. He's a French Canadian, and very, very well written book. It's very simple to follow too. He's written in a very, very sort of easy to understand way. But through his experiments, he found that by taking a dye from a jellyfish, they were actually injecting that into a petri dish, into the cells, and then following where those cells went when they were re-entered into the body of mice and rats, sadly, but that's how they did it. And they found that the cells were migrating from the bone marrow of the animal into morphing into other organs. So, for instance, if it went to a liver, it became a liver cell, and they could trace it because it had this dye in it. And that's very simply the way it worked. But so, taking this product, instead of having sort of stem cells extracted by by needles and things like that, which is very painful, I understand, this product actually has the same effect. And it's able to stimulate the bone marrow to release stem cells, and they go wherever they're needed into the body. So in a nutshell, that's it. I would encourage you to read about it. Your listeners might want to look up this book. Again, it's called Cracking the Stem Cell Code by Christian Drapeau. You can get that on the Amazon. So that's a little bit about that one, which I find interesting. I still take this to the day, and I buy it every month. It's a great product. The other one I've discovered quite recently, actually, is by a company called PM International, which is coming out of Germany, and they have these products really go together. So I want to talk to you about them together. They have this is like a sachet of powder that you mix into water or to juice, whichever you prefer, and it has the equivalent of 7.5 kilos of fruit and vegetable nutrients. Now, bearing in mind what I've said to you earlier, that there's very little nutrients in supermarket food. So if you're getting the best organic sourced fruit and veg that you can find, and then you were to extract those nutrients, basically that's what's in that packet. Now, it's not particularly new generally. It's actually been around quite a long time in Germany and other parts of Europe, but it's new to the UK. And what makes it different is they have what they call nutrient transport concept, which is a patented formula that they use. Again, scientifically backed. You can read about them. The product's called Fitline Power Cocktail. And essentially, it's now been adopted by many of the world's top athletes. And that really interested me, because if these guys are taking it, there's got to be something in it. Clearly, because they have to be very careful in terms of doping regulations. I mean, it's not just that they have their own nutritionists that look after them, and their own advisory council that if they're competing for a bronze, gold, silver medal, whatever, they've got to be careful what nutrients they take as supplementation. So this passes all that regulation because it's on the Cologne list. Cologne list being the standard that the sports industry at that level use to judge if there are any dope in products. If they're not on the list, then in fact they shouldn't be taken. It's as simple as that. So that's something I enjoy every morning. What can it do? It certainly, I feel a lot of energy from it. My concentration levels are better. Hopefully my speaking skills are better on your show, I don't know, but it generally helps me. There's another product they have called Restorate, which again is in a sachet formula. They come in boxes of 30, so you get a month's supply. And this again is used by the athletes after a good heavy workout, losing a lot of fluids from their body. This helps to restore the essential minerals. And it does it in a way that it doesn't spike that sort of energy spikes you get with these sort of different sugary drinks. It doesn't have that. It basically gives you sustained energy levels. And also, if you're not working out, you could take that at night because it helps you sleep much better. It's got some very good minerals in it that assist in cleansing your body too. So when you wake up in the morning, you have a good clear out and everything's great. And finally, I want to mention, this is the third one of the set, I suppose. and it's called Activise, and it's by this same company, PM International. It's another of the Fitline products, and again, little scoops of powder in this that you can take. You'll see if I can demonstrate that. It's quite small, but
Very tiny. So what, teaspoon?
Yeah, just about, I would say, Elaine. About 4 or 5 mil, but two of those is sufficient. Some of the pros take 3 scoops. If you're not used to a really good quality energy drink, you might notice a sort of a flush. We call it a it's from niacin. A niacin flush gives you kind of a red-faced neck, and you might get a bit of tingling around your ears. Well, that's actually a good thing. It's actually getting oxygen into your blood, and that's why the athletes love it, because it gives them that extra amount of performance that they need, under stress. So it's a great energy drink to take in the afternoon as well. You feel after lunch, you feel that kind of, I need a nap, But if you can't have a nap and you've got to be in the office or working, then definitely that's another great product. The thing I like about it, as I say, it's got scientific evidence behind it, plenty of information on their website. They've even got little QR codes on their product. I don't even see that there.
Yes, yeah.
If you put your scanner over that, it comes up with all the evidence and background information you want. So that was quite clever of them to do that, I think. So they've even actually got one for kids, which I thought was amazing, because that's where my story started, wasn't it? It was about looking after my daughter's health and my son as well. So this is sort of from toddlers upwards, sort of, let's say, about 3 years old. You could give them as a supplementary drink up to the age of about 12. Then you could switch them over to the grown-up version, if you like. So I'm actually working with an organisation at the moment called Sports for Champions, and they have athletes visiting schools all over the country, and we're trying to get the kids to, we give them that when they have their meeting with the athlete. It's an orangey flavoured drink. They love it. Easy to take. It doesn't sort of give them any surprises, so they enjoy it. And it's giving them good nutrition to help calcium and bone growth, and again, concentration levels. A lot of minerals in there will help with that. Again, they don't get this spiky effect where they sort of go hyper for a while. Doesn't happen. It's a good product. And all of these actually have a 30-day money-back satisfaction guarantee. So you can buy them online, absolutely no risk. You can use it up for a month, try it out. If you don't like it, they'll very happily refund your money. So those things are important, I think, because when you're trying something new and you're not sure, cost-wise, these are about just over £24 for a month's supply. So not expensive, there's a month's worth of drinks there. And these ones work out about £3 a day. So, you go and swap your Starbucks coffee and bun for one of these a day, you're getting better value, I think. So that's a little review of some of the products I've got. I mean, as I say, we've got limited time today, but love to share more with you about my experiences on those sometime.
Okay, yeah, we've got plenty to talk about, definitely on another occasion. With the Fitline Super Cocktail, I mix that now with my wheatgrass, my organic live wheatgrass in the morning. Wheatgrass isn't terribly tasty.
No,
just like eating grass if you had it raw, but mixed with that cocktail, it's absolutely gorgeous. So I do that myself every day.
Well, I'm pleased you do it, and that was really what I think encouraged you to talk to me about it, wasn't it? Because you got such a good result from it, which I'm excited about, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. So,
sorry.
No, go on.
I think to be fair, Elaine, is the difficulty is we've got 7.5 kilos of fruit and veg in there. Well, it's it's not that convenient to sit there and chop all that up in the morning, is it? And put it through your blender or your juicer. This is a really convenient way. I mean, even if you're running late for the office or whatever, you can throw one of those in your bag in your pocket, and you're done. Just mix it up with some water. It dissolves very well. It doesn't go lumpy as well. That's another
absolutely. And that's why I was interested, because a lot of people I mentor through cancer, as you know, and I'm really particular on things that I can recommend. I tend to recommend things from my own personal experience, and as you say, the scientific evidence. And a lot of people say to me that they haven't got the energy, the finances, etc., to source organic foods, and then to wash and chop, and then buy the juicer, because it has to be the right sort of juicer to get maximum effect. And then, the time it takes to do all that, etc., coupled with the hospital appointments and all the other things that they need to do, it's just too much for some people. So I've been looking for a way that I can introduce something that I'm happy with, that ticks all my boxes in terms of being organic and the highest quality. And I'm really, really happy. So my morning routine is my wheatgrass with my Fitline, and then I have the omega-3 oil, which is similar kind of thing, I guess.
Yeah.
Nutrients to, I think, sounds like I might need to add the algae, the blue-green algae that you mentioned.
Yeah.
So you can send me a link to that when this video goes live. We can put a post underneath so people can see where to get it from. So that's
very happy to do that. It's quite unusual also to find products like the last ones I've mentioned are coming out of Germany, as I say, and I mean the standard of manufacturing is very, very high. They work to good manufacturing practice, GMP, which means they're manufactured to pharmaceutical standards, which is not, they don't have to do that because it's not required in nutritional supplements, but they do. And it's kind of the Mercedes of nutrition, really. And it's really encouraging that we're seeing that coming out of Europe for a change, and not from the United States, where very often they bring products over which have to be then altered because our European standardization is different to the United States. So this is actually found its way across to America now. In fact, strangely enough, on Saturday, BM International opened their American headquarters in Sarasota. So for once in a while, the Europeans do something right, and we get the Americans interested in what we can produce. So that's good news. Yeah.
Excellent. Scott, I asked guests to give 2 song choices, and you've chosen "On Days Like These" by Matt Monro, which came from the Italian Job, didn't it? The film.
It did. Yeah. I love that song. The beginning of the movie where this guy is driving. I forget what it was now. I'm not sure if it was a Lamborghini or what it was, but he was driving a sports car, smoking a cigarette in those days, in the 70s, and through these wonderful mountain roads in Italy. He has a bit of a nasty end, unfortunately, when he goes through the tunnel. But it was the music that I loved hearing, and I was very fortunate to live in Spain for a little while. And driving the mountain roads there brought all that back. It's a beautiful piece of music, and Matt Monro is, of course, one of our best British singers at the time, and so I love it. I love that song. It's very
fabulous.
Happy memories.
You mentioned you lived in Spain. That was when you did you presented a TV show as well, didn't you? About being on holiday or living in the sun, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was called Living in the Sun. It was a BBC production back between 2004 to 2008. I co-presented it with. You may remember Nadia Sawali. She's been in TV and on the program on TV for quite a while now. So it was one of the first sort of reality TV shows about Brits moving to Spain, either to sort of retire, semi-retire, second home. But the other part of the program was about people starting a business in Spain. And this was kind of during the boom years, before it all went wrong. And we followed the story of a family from Bradford in Yorkshire, an Indian family who decided to open the Maharaja restaurant, as they called it, on the seafront in a little town called Villajoyosa, which is about 10 miles from Benidorm on the north Costa Blanca. So I saw this advertised on one of the media channels that we used to subscribe to for the property business. And I contacted them and said, we've got this family, it might be great for the show. And within about 10 minutes, I got a call from one of their researchers. He said, this sounds exactly the kind of thing we're looking for. Well, to cut a long story short, that became the first episode. along with a couple of families that were looking for property. So they gave me this sort of précis of what people would like, what they didn't like, what their price band was, the regional areas, what they were looking for, and then I had to go and find those properties. So it was fun. And then the chap that was supposed to be presenting it in Spain let them down, and so they ended up with me. And we had a lot of fun with it. Actually, it was great fun because we did 4 seasons, and it was, yeah. I mean, I've never been a TV presenter before, but it seemed to work all right, you know. And people liked the show. Yeah, so that was the beginning of all these home and away kind of shows back then. I think there's still a few episodes knocking around on YouTube for anyone that wants to look them up.
Okay, we'll have to look. They're Living in the Sun on YouTube. See if we can find you.
Yeah.
The other song to finish off you've chosen is "We Are the Champions" by Queen. Tell us why you chose this one, Scott.
Yeah, well, I think also because back in the day, I was fortunate enough to go to see Live Aid in 1985 at Wembley. That was the Bob Geldof concert, you may remember, to raise money for the children of Africa. And a lot of the stars came together at that time. The musicians came together and put on a show at Wembley, it was a bit weird, actually, to be honest. It didn't kind of work. There were 75,000 people there in the old Wembley. And it wasn't until Queen came on that it really took legs. And for those of you that may have got to see the movie that's come out recently about Freddie's life, they do make a point of that in the film. It was as soon as Queen started playing, that the whole energy changed in the arena. And it was such an amazing experience being there for that particular track live. Everybody was carried away with it, you know. And it stayed with me ever since. And of course, now that I did go and see the film quite recently, that kind of brought it all back to me again. So it's a really good, energizing song. I think something that should be played in schools, and just getting our kids focused on positive. There's so much negativity out there right now. I think it's just good sometimes to have a good song to sort of support your mood. You know, it's a very uplifting song for teamwork and everything like that. Yeah, so I love that one.
Fabulous. So Scott, Lucy, thank you very much for your time, and I'm sure we'll be talking again quite soon. Here are your songs: "Living." Where are we now? "On Days Like These" by Matt Monro, and "We Are the Champions" by Queen. These are for you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Elaine. Great to chat with you.